Chapter 1, The Café and the Lone Sentinel. In the quiet town of Willowbrook, where cobblestone streets meander between centuries-old buildings and the autumn air carried a hint of mystery, a small, unassuming café stood as a refuge from the rush of the modern world. Known to the locals as the Golden Cup, it was more than just a place to sip rich, aromatic coffee. It was a haven of whispered secrets, hushed conversations, and, as fate would have it, an enigma on four legs. Every morning, as dawn painted the sky in soft hues of lavender and rose, a solitary dog would appear outside the café. With a coat the color of faded copper and eyes that shimmered with an ancient sadness, the dog sat patiently by the entrance. His presence was both a comfort and a puzzle to those who passed by, an unspoken testament to loyalty, loss, and perhaps a destiny yet unfulfilled. Though many assumed the dog to be stray, there was an ineffable quality about his bearing. He seemed to know precisely when the first sips of coffee were poured, when the door swung open, and when the mundane bustle of daily life began anew. The regulars at the Golden Cup often whispered theories about his origin. Some said he was a ghost of the past, while others believed he carried messages from realms unseen. But amid these speculations, one fact remained indisputable: the dog waited every day, as if bound by a promise only he remembered. Chapter 2, A Man Driven by Remorse. Not far from the café lived a man whose life had been punctuated by regret and quiet resignation. Nathaniel Archer, once a man of dreams and daring exploits, had long since retreated into the shadows of his own solitude. His days unfolded in a monotonous routine, a blend of lingering memories and muted hopes. Yet there was one fragment of his past that refused to fade, the loyal companion he had once cherished and then, in a moment of inexplicable despair, abandoned. For years, Nathaniel had tried to bury that memory beneath layers of busy work and half-hearted distractions. But as the chill of autumn crept over Willowbrook, stirring long-dormant emotions, an unbidden thought began to gnaw at his heart: what had become of the dog he once loved? One crisp morning, as golden leaves danced on the sidewalks and the first light of dawn broke through the mist, Nathaniel found himself drawn to the Golden Cup. His eyes, clouded with regret and determination, fixed upon the lone dog. There was a spark in the animal's gaze, a silent plea, perhaps, for recognition or forgiveness. Unable to shake the feeling that destiny had reunited them, Nathaniel followed the dog at a discreet distance, his steps tentative yet resolute. Chapter 3, Footsteps in the Early Light. Nathaniel's pursuit was a silent one. He trailed the dog through the awakening streets of Willowbrook, careful to remain unseen. The dog, unaware of the man's presence, continued his measured journey. Every so often, he would pause, as if listening to a melody only he could hear, before resuming his path. The winding alleys, lined with shuttered storefronts and ancient lampposts, served as a labyrinth through which both man and beast navigated, each step imbued with unspoken significance. As Nathaniel followed, memories began to resurface. He recalled how, in his youth, he had rescued the dog from a rain-soaked street corner, cradling him in his arms as they sought shelter from a storm. That long-forgotten day had been the beginning of a bond that, despite time and circumstance, had never truly been severed. Now, as the dog trotted steadily toward an unfamiliar part of town, Nathaniel's heart pounded with anticipation and dread. What secrets might the dog be keeping? And why had fate led him, after so many years, to this moment? Chapter 4, The Hidden Passage. The pursuit led Nathaniel to the edge of the bustling town center, where the well-trodden streets gave way to quieter, neglected pathways. The dog veered off the main road, disappearing down a narrow, ivy-clad alley that Nathaniel had never noticed before. The alley was dim, the light of the morning barely penetrating the thick canopy of overhanging branches. Shadows played tricks on the eyes, and the air was heavy with the scent of damp stone and forgotten histories. Nathaniel hesitated at the entrance. Every instinct told him to turn back, yet the pull of unresolved guilt and an unquenchable need for answers urged him onward. With cautious steps, he entered the alley, his footsteps echoing softly against the ancient brick. The further he went, the more the world around him transformed, from the familiar warmth of sunlit streets to a realm of quiet mystery. It was as if he had stepped back in time, into a hidden chapter of Willowbrook's history. At the very end of the alley, where the buildings leaned in close as if sharing whispered confidences, the dog stopped. He sat beneath a weathered archway, his eyes fixed on something beyond Nathaniel's sight. For a moment, the world stood still. The only sound was the distant murmur of the town awakening, punctuated by the rhythmic beating of Nathaniel's heart. Chapter 5, The Unbelievable Revelation. Just as Nathaniel edged closer, trying to discern what had captivated the dog's attention, a figure emerged from the shadows. The man was draped in a long, worn coat and carried an aura of quiet authority. His features were obscured by the dim light, yet there was an unmistakable air of familiarity in his stance. Nathaniel's breath caught in his throat. Could this be the owner he had long forgotten? Or was it someone, or something, else entirely? The dog rose to his feet and, without a sound, trotted toward the mysterious figure. As they neared, the man's face came into view. Time seemed to warp as Nathaniel recognized in those eyes the same gentle kindness and piercing sorrow he had once known so well. The man extended a trembling hand to the dog, who responded with a soft, almost human whimper of recognition. In that charged moment, Nathaniel realized the profound truth: the dog he had abandoned was not merely a stray wandering in the twilight, he was a living embodiment of Nathaniel's past, a past filled with love, loss, and the possibility of redemption. Nathaniel's eyes widened in disbelief. He watched as the man knelt beside the dog, their reunion unfolding in a silent symphony of emotions too deep for words. The stranger's touch was tender, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. For Nathaniel, the sight was both a balm and a torment, a bittersweet reminder of everything he had lost and the chance, perhaps too late, to reclaim what once was. Chapter 6, Echoes of the Past. In that hidden corner of Willowbrook, amid crumbling stone and whispered secrets, the reunion unfolded like a long-forgotten melody. The café in the distance, with its inviting warmth and cheerful clamor, felt worlds away from the solemnity of the moment. Here, in the quiet gloom of the alley, time seemed to suspend itself. Every sound was amplified: the soft patter of the dog's paws, the faint rustling of leaves, the distant hum of life continuing obliviously beyond these walls. Nathaniel stood frozen, a silent observer to a scene that both healed and shattered him. Questions swirled in his mind: who was this man, truly? Had he been the dog's owner all along? And why had he chosen this secluded meeting place for their long-overdue reunion? The answers, it seemed, were as elusive as the morning mist. Yet even as uncertainty clung to the air, one truth emerged with undeniable clarity: fate had woven the lives of these two men together in a tapestry of chance and consequence. The dog, with his quiet vigil and steadfast loyalty, had become the unlikely messenger between broken hearts and forgotten dreams. And now, in this clandestine moment, the boundaries of past and present blurred, offering a chance at redemption that was as fragile as it was miraculous. Nathaniel felt a deep stirring within, a mix of regret, longing, and the faint hope of absolution. With every beat of his heart, he resolved that he would no longer run from the shadows of his past. The man before him, whose eyes shone with both sorrow and understanding, seemed to silently beckon him to step forward and embrace the painful yet necessary journey of forgiveness. As the first rays of sunlight began to filter through the dense canopy above, casting a gentle glow on the reunited pair, a single thought crystallized in Nathaniel's mind: some mysteries, however painful, must be faced. For in confronting the truth, one might finally unlock the door to healing, and in that healing, perhaps even discover a new beginning. Chapter 7, The Confrontation. Nathaniel lingered in the cool haze of the narrow alley, his heart pounding as he watched the mysterious man gently cradle the copper-coated dog. The early morning light, now stronger than before, revealed details of the stranger's worn features, a face etched with lines of sorrow and quiet wisdom. The dog's steady gaze seemed to beckon him, as if urging Nathaniel to come forward. For a long moment, silence reigned between them. Then the stranger spoke in a soft, almost tentative tone, "I've been waiting, for both of you." His words, though few, resonated with an inexplicable familiarity. Nathaniel's throat constricted as memories long suppressed threatened to surge forth. He took a tentative step from the shadows, his voice betraying the mix of regret and hope that stirred within him. "Who are you?" Nathaniel asked, barely above a whisper. Why are you with him?" The stranger's eyes, dark and reflective, met Nathaniel's, and in them Nathaniel saw not an adversary but a mirror of his own past missteps and the longing for redemption. "I am a keeper of memories," the man replied. "A guide for souls who have lost their way. This dog was once the heartbeat of a bond that you cherished and then forsook." His words sliced through the chill in the air, carrying both accusation and compassion. Nathaniel felt as if time had paused, each word echoing in the cavern of his heart. The dog's calm yet soulful eyes seemed to plead silently, stirring a deep ache of remorse and the faint glimmer of hope for absolution. Chapter 8, Reflections of a Forgotten Past. Under the muted glow of the morning sun, the trio stepped out of the alley and into the awakening streets of Willowbrook. Every step taken felt like a descent into a labyrinth of memories. The dog trotted steadily ahead, occasionally pausing at corners where the past whispered through the brickwork and cobblestones. The mysterious guide walked beside Nathaniel, their footsteps aligning as if destiny had conspired to lead them on this path of reckoning. As they passed by a faded mural depicting scenes of a once thriving community, the stranger began to share fragments of a story long buried. "Years ago," he said softly, "there was a time when love and loyalty bound two souls inseparably. You rescued him on a rain-soaked evening, when the world seemed as if it had forgotten hope. In his eyes, you saw not just a stray in need but a friend, a companion who offered silent solace in a world too loud and indifferent." Nathaniel's eyes glistened with unshed tears as he recalled that fateful day, the bitter rain, the flash of lightning, and the tender moment when he scooped the shivering animal into his arms. Yet, as time passed, he had allowed despair and shame to eclipse that bond. I abandoned him," Nathaniel murmured, voice thick with regret. "I was too afraid of the pain that love might bring again." The stranger's gaze softened. "Regret is a heavy burden, but forgiveness, both for oneself and for those we've hurt, is the light that can guide us back. The dog waited here every day, not out of simple habit, but because he knew that the journey to healing required more than a passing glance. It required a reckoning with one's past." Chapter 9, The Journey of Reconciliation. The day unfolded as they moved through streets that wore the marks of time. Each step was an unintentional pilgrimage through the fragments of Nathaniel's former life, a time when hope had been abundant, and mistakes were lessons in disguise. They passed by the old bookshop where Nathaniel and his four-legged friend had once sought refuge from a harsh winter, by a quiet square where laughter and gentle conversations had once filled the air. At every turn, the dog would pause as if to signal a hidden memory. In one such moment, they stopped before a small park bench, its surface weathered by countless seasons. Nathaniel sank onto the bench, feeling the weight of years cascade over him. The stranger sat down beside him, and together they sat in silence, each lost in thought as the dog circled quietly at their feet. "Do you remember the day we first met?" the stranger asked after a long pause. His voice was tender, and in it lay both accusation and comfort. Nathaniel's eyes focused on the dog, whose calm presence seemed to speak of forgiveness already granted, though never asked for. "I remember," Nathaniel replied softly, "I remember the way his eyes shone with trust and the silent promise of companionship." His voice faltered as memories of happier days mingled with the bitter taste of regret. "You see," the stranger continued, "the dog has always been a silent witness to our joys and our mistakes. And perhaps, in his unwavering presence, there is a chance for redemption, not just for you, but for the love that was nearly lost forever." Chapter 10, The Path of Forgiveness. As the day deepened into a tapestry of light and shadow, Nathaniel found himself retracing old steps, both literal and metaphorical. The mysterious man led him along a path that wound through forgotten lanes and hidden courtyards of Willowbrook, places where the echoes of laughter and the ghosts of old promises lingered in the air. At every stop, the dog's quiet demeanor served as a reminder of what had once been and what might yet be restored. In one particularly poignant moment, the trio reached a small clearing in an overgrown garden, where wildflowers struggled to bloom amid cracks in the ancient stone. Here, the stranger paused, his hand outstretched as if to touch the delicate petals. "Every scar, every regret, has its place in the mosaic of who we are," he said. "But we must learn to see beauty even in the broken. To forgive is not to forget, but to understand that every ending carries the seed of a new beginning." Nathaniel's thoughts churned with conflicting emotions, remorse for the past, and a tentative hope for what could lie ahead. The gentle murmur of the garden, coupled with the dog's serene presence, stirred something deep within him. He closed his eyes, recalling the warmth of the dog's companionship, the unspoken bond they once shared, a bond that had been tarnished by his own missteps. "Is it possible," he whispered, "to reclaim what was lost?" The question hung in the air, fragile and tentative, like the first bud of spring daring to bloom. Chapter 11, A Glimpse of Renewal. As afternoon edged toward dusk, an unexpected transformation began to take place. The winding streets of Willowbrook grew alive with the colors of a town preparing for its annual harvest festival, a celebration of renewal, community, and the resilience of the human spirit. Lanterns were hung from ancient trees, and the soft strains of music floated through the streets like a promise. Drawn by the gentle pull of celebration, the dog trotted ahead with a lightness in his step that belied the solemnity of the earlier hours. Nathaniel, still deep in contemplation, found himself swept along by the tide of life that surrounded him. He watched as families gathered, neighbors exchanged warm greetings, and the town itself seemed to shed the remnants of a long, sorrowful winter. In the midst of the revelry, Nathaniel's heart stirred with a cautious optimism. The Harvest Festival, with its bursts of color and laughter, was a living reminder that renewal was not only possible but inevitable. The mysterious man, ever the silent guide, observed Nathaniel's transformation with a quiet smile, as though witnessing a long-awaited miracle. At one of the festival's small stands, a kindly old vendor offered Nathaniel a cup of spiced cider. As he accepted the cup, the warmth of the drink seeped into his bones, and for the first time in years, Nathaniel allowed himself to believe in the possibility of forgiveness and new beginnings. The dog, resting at his feet, looked up with eyes that shone with a knowing gleam, as if to say, "The journey is not over, it has only just begun." Chapter 12, Embracing the Unseen Future. As twilight deepened into night, the festival's lights cast a gentle glow over the cobblestones of Willowbrook. The mysterious man led Nathaniel away from the merriment and into a quieter side street where the murmurs of celebration gave way to introspection. Here, beneath a sky strewn with countless stars, Nathaniel felt the full weight of his choices and the promise of redemption. Standing alone for a moment, Nathaniel gazed upward, silently pledging to confront the ghosts of his past and to cherish the love that had once defined him. In that solemn promise lay the understanding that every moment was a chance to mend broken bonds, no matter how deeply the wounds might have been inflicted. Turning back, he found that the dog was now trotting happily alongside him, a living bridge between what had been and what might be. The mysterious guide paused at the corner of the street, his eyes glistening with a mixture of farewell and encouragement. "Your journey does not end here," he murmured. "Every step forward is a step toward healing, and every dawn brings with it the promise of renewal. Trust in the path ahead, and in time, you will rediscover the love you thought was lost." With those parting words echoing in his soul, the man melted into the shadows of the night, leaving Nathaniel with a heart both heavy and hopeful. The dog nudged Nathaniel's hand gently, and in that simple gesture lay the silent assurance of loyalty and the unspoken promise that, together, they would navigate the uncertain road to redemption. As Nathaniel walked back toward the soft glow of the cafe where the day had begun, he felt a subtle shift within, a stirring of courage and a rekindling of the deep bond that had once defined him. Though the past would forever remain a part of him, the promise of forgiveness and the prospect of a future unburdened by regret now shone as brightly as the stars overhead. And so, beneath the watchful gaze of the night, with the quiet companionship of a loyal friend at his side, Nathaniel embraced the unseen future, a future where each step, no matter how tentative, carried him closer to healing and, perhaps, to a love reborn from the shadows of remorse. Chapter 13, The Café Revisited. After the quiet promise of twilight, Nathaniel found himself drawn once again to the golden cup. Inside the familiar warmth of the café, where the rich aroma of freshly ground coffee mingled with soft strains of morning chatter, memories stirred like distant echoes. The loyal dog, ever by his side, rested at his feet, a living emblem of the past reawakened. Nathaniel's gaze swept over the time-worn photographs adorning the walls, each image a silent witness to moments of joy and sorrow. Regular patrons exchanged knowing smiles as they noticed a gentle change in him, a quiet determination replacing the weight of regret. Even as he sipped his coffee, his mind wandered to the alley, to the mysterious guide whose words still resonated in the depths of his heart. There, amid soft laughter and the clink of porcelain cups, Nathaniel resolved to rediscover the fragments of a life once defined by unyielding love and unspoken forgiveness. Chapter 14, Echoes of the Past Renewed. In a corner table by a rain-streaked window, Nathaniel sat quietly, his thoughts echoing the muted cadence of the world outside. The café, with its familiar creaks and whispers of history, had become a sanctuary of recollection. Every detail, the chipped rim of his favorite mug, the worn wooden floorboards, the gentle murmur of conversation, spoke of stories long past and promises nearly forgotten. As he watched the dog doze contentedly, a memory surfaced, the day he'd rescued his four-legged friend during a raging storm. In that vivid recollection, the rain had become a metaphor for the tears of loss and hope alike. Now, with the soft hum of the present blending seamlessly with the echoes of that day, Nathaniel understood that every moment, however painful, carried the potential for renewal. It was as though the café itself whispered, "Remember, the past holds lessons for tomorrow." Chapter 15, An Unexpected Visitor. The gentle rhythm of the afternoon was interrupted by a soft knock on the café door. A slender figure stepped inside, a woman with kind eyes and a hesitant smile. She moved with an unstudied grace, her presence both calming and enigmatic. Recognizing her as Marianne, an old friend who once shared in Nathaniel's youthful dreams, he felt both surprise and a tentative spark of familiarity. Marianne's eyes softened as she took in the scene, the dog, the thoughtful look in Nathaniel's eyes, and the subtle melancholy that seemed to lace the very air. "Nathaniel," she said, her voice a blend of warmth and concern, "I've heard whispers that you're retracing old paths. I didn't expect to find you caught between memory and hope." Her words, gentle yet probing, opened a window into a past filled with shared laughter and bittersweet partings. In the midst of their quiet conversation, Marianne revealed that she, too, had been drawn to the town by echoes of memories that refused to fade. With each exchanged word, the fabric of old connections wove itself anew, bridging the gap between forgotten days and the promise of a brighter future. Chapter 16, The Enigma Unfolds. As dusk began to settle over Willowbrook, the mysterious guide reappeared, a silent silhouette against the dimming light, standing at the threshold of the café. His presence, both elusive and comforting, stirred a renewed sense of wonder in Nathaniel's heart. Though his features remained partly shrouded in shadow, his eyes held a depth of understanding that spoke of timeless wisdom. He approached with deliberate calm, his voice soft yet imbued with quiet authority. "The journey you embark upon is not solely about reclaiming lost love, but about understanding that every connection, however fractured, is part of a larger tapestry." His words, cryptic yet sincere, hinted at secrets yet to be unveiled, mysteries interlaced with the very soul of the town. Nathaniel, Marianne, and the silent canine witness listened intently as the guide spoke of ancient bonds, of destinies intertwined, and of the possibility that redemption might be found in the most unexpected of reunions. In that moment, the enigma of the dog and the man was no longer a solitary mystery but a call to explore the deeper truths hidden within every heart. Chapter 17, A Journey into the Heart of Memory. Spurred by the guide's enigmatic message and Marianne's gentle encouragement, Nathaniel decided to venture beyond the cafe's comforting walls. Together with his steadfast companion, he retraced familiar routes through the winding streets and hidden nooks of Willowbrook, a journey that soon became a pilgrimage into the depths of his own memory. They wandered past the old bookshop where tales of yore lined dusty shelves, through narrow alleys where time seemed to slow, and along paths dappled with the soft glow of twilight. Every step unveiled fragments of forgotten moments, laughter shared beneath ancient trees, whispered secrets on cool, moonlit nights, and the silent promises of friendships once believed eternal. With each stride, Nathaniel felt both the weight and the liberation of his past. The memories, once sources of regret, now shimmered with the possibility of forgiveness and growth. It was as if the very soul of the town, its crumbling brick walls, its gnarled trees, and even its fading murals, was guiding him toward an understanding that life, in all its imperfections, was a masterpiece of interconnected stories. Chapter 18, Embracing the Future. As the night deepened and stars began to assert their quiet dominion over the sky, a sense of profound clarity settled over Nathaniel. In a secluded courtyard lit by the gentle radiance of old lanterns, he paused to reflect on the journey so far. The dog rested at his side, its eyes reflecting both the light of distant constellations and the depth of unspoken truths. In that reflective silence, Nathaniel made a silent vow, a commitment not just to mend the bonds of his past, but to embrace the uncertain, beautiful future that lay ahead. The guide's words, Marianne's gentle support, and the steadfast loyalty of his four-legged friend had all converged to create a moment of awakening. It was a moment where sorrow and hope danced together, and where every step taken was a promise to cherish both the scars and the light. With a renewed heart, Nathaniel rose, leaving behind the shadows of regret. He stepped forward into the promise of a new day, aware that the journey of healing was ongoing, that each dawn would bring fresh opportunities to rediscover love, redemption, and the timeless connections that define us all. And so, under the silent vigil of the stars and the tender watch of his loyal companion, Nathaniel embraced his new horizon, a future crafted from the lessons of the past and the luminous promise of tomorrow. Chapter 19, The Enchanted Journal. The following morning, as a soft fog embraced Willowbrook and the world was still draped in the tender hush of early light, Nathaniel felt a pull, an inexplicable urging to retrace his steps to places he once thought forgotten. With Marianne at his side and the loyal dog trotting faithfully ahead, he wandered toward the old town hall, a weathered building steeped in history and murmurs of yesteryears. Inside a narrow, dust-laden corridor, they discovered a forgotten archive. In a secluded nook behind stacks of brittle manuscripts, Nathaniel's fingers brushed against the leather-bound spine of an ancient journal. Its pages, yellowed with time, were filled with cryptic entries, sketches of long-lost landscapes, and passionate notes of a man whose words resonated with both melancholy and hope. The journal, as if imbued with the spirit of forgotten dreams, seemed to whisper the secrets of a bond once forged in innocence, a bond between a man and his faithful companion. As Marianne read aloud passages that spoke of longing, love, and regret, Nathaniel felt a stirring of recognition deep within him. The descriptions evoked vivid memories of his own past, intertwining with the inexplicable mystery of the dog's silent vigil. Every faded word became a stepping stone on a path leading him to confront the shadows of his former self and to seek the redemption that had always beckoned him from the depths of his heart. Chapter 20, Beneath the Moonlit Ruins. Later that evening, guided by the soft luminescence of a full moon and the gentle tug of destiny, the trio ventured to a secluded clearing on the edge of town. There, amidst crumbling ruins draped in ivy and wildflowers, lay the remnants of an old stone structure once celebrated as a beacon of community and hope. The air was cool and perfumed with the scent of damp earth and distant memories, and the silence of the place spoke louder than any words. It was here, under the watchful eye of the stars, that the mysterious guide reappeared. His presence, as ethereal as a whisper in the dark, seemed to merge with the ancient shadows of the ruins. He spoke softly of cycles and renewal, explaining that every relic and every scar in the landscape held a story of loss and eventual rebirth. Within these ruins, he murmured, lie the echoes of those who dared to love and hope, even when the world seemed intent on forgetting them. Nathaniel's heart swelled as he listened, feeling that the ruins were not merely remnants of a bygone era, but living testaments to the resilience of the human spirit. The guide's words stirred him to look upon his own past with new eyes, a mosaic of mistakes and blessings, each piece essential to the person he was becoming. Chapter 21, Confronting the Shadows. In the days that followed, Willowbrook transformed from a quiet town into a canvas of hidden recollections. Nathaniel and Marianne spent hours together, piecing together the fragments of old letters, photographs, and the tender words of the enchanted journal. The dog, ever the silent guardian, wandered between them as if ensuring that no memory, no matter how painful, would be left unacknowledged. With every discovered artifact and every shared story, Nathaniel felt the weight of his regrets begin to lift. Yet, with the light came shadows. In a quiet moment by the banks of a gentle stream that wound its way past the town's ancient walls, he confronted a lingering truth: the shadows of his past were not to be banished by mere recollection, but to be understood, embraced, and ultimately integrated into the tapestry of his life. Sitting on the cool stones by the water, he allowed the gentle murmur of the current to carry away the remnants of sorrow. Marianne's soft words of encouragement and the dog's unwavering gaze reassured him that every scar had its story, and that these stories, interwoven, could lead to a future where forgiveness was not a fleeting promise but a living, breathing reality. Chapter 22, Steps Toward Tomorrow. As spring began to caress Willowbrook with the tender warmth of rebirth, Nathaniel sensed that the journey was evolving into something far greater than the simple act of remembering. It was a pilgrimage, a deliberate, courageous step toward rebuilding not only the bridges to his past but also the foundations for a hopeful tomorrow. One radiant morning, with dew glistening on the cobblestones and the air humming with the vibrancy of new beginnings, he returned to the Golden Cup. This time, the café felt transformed, no longer merely a relic of the past, but a nexus where old memories met the promise of the future. Regular patrons exchanged smiles of quiet understanding as Nathaniel, now visibly lighter in spirit, shared gentle greetings. Even the dog, whose silent vigil had witnessed the unfolding of countless dawns, wagged his tail with a renewed sense of purpose. The mysterious guide, his role as the keeper of memories ever subtle yet unmistakable, offered Nathaniel one final piece of advice before fading into the soft glow of the morning light: the path ahead is paved with both joy and sorrow. Embrace each step, for in every moment lies the seed of transformation. With that, Nathaniel took his first resolute steps into this new chapter of his life, a future where the echoes of old regrets blended harmoniously with the vibrant promise of tomorrow. Each stride was a testament to the power of redemption, a quiet celebration of the courage it takes to forgive oneself and to welcome the unknown with open arms. And so, beneath the silent vigil of the town he once knew and the watchful eyes of those who believed in second chances, Nathaniel set forth, ready to mend broken bonds, to heal old wounds, and to write new chapters in the timeless story of love, loss, and the everlasting quest for redemption. Chapter 23, Whispers in the Rain. A sudden, gentle rain began to fall over Willowbrook, each droplet echoing like a whispered memory against the cobblestones. Nathaniel, Marianne, and the loyal dog sought shelter beneath an ancient oak by the town square. As the rhythmic patter of rain merged with the murmur of distant voices, Nathaniel felt as though the heavens themselves were murmuring long-forgotten truths. In that reflective pause, the mysterious guide's earlier words resonated in his mind, each syllable a reminder that every moment, even the quiet drizzle of rain, could carry the promise of renewal. The rain washed over them like a cleansing tide, stirring hidden memories and blurring the lines between sorrow and hope. Nathaniel found himself contemplating the dual nature of life, the delicate interplay between loss and the opportunity for rebirth, as the landscape glistened with renewed light under the gentle shower. Chapter 24, The Bonds That Endure. With the rain easing into a soft mist, the trio resumed their journey, guided by an unspoken determination to confront the echoes of the past. Their footsteps led them toward a secluded garden tucked behind the remnants of an old estate, a place that had once been the heart of community gatherings and whispered secrets. Among overgrown roses and ivy-choked statues, Nathaniel discovered a small, weathered bench engraved with initials and dates from a time long past. It was here that the bonds of memory revealed themselves most clearly. Marianne recounted stories of childhood promises and heartfelt goodbyes, while the dog, ever watchful and serene, seemed to affirm that the ties which bound them were not easily severed by time. In the quiet communion of shared memories, Nathaniel realized that every scar carried a lesson, every tear a chance to grow. The garden, a living tapestry of endurance and resilience, symbolized the enduring nature of love and loyalty, even when layered with the bittersweet patina of regret. Chapter 25, The Tapestry Unfolds. As dusk painted the sky in deep hues of indigo and gold, the path ahead transformed into a corridor of luminous recollections. The mysterious guide reappeared at the edge of the garden, his presence as enigmatic as ever. With a gentle smile, he produced a folded letter from within the depths of his worn coat, a final piece of the puzzle that linked Nathaniel's past with the present. The letter, written in a familiar, careful script, recounted events that had once seemed like fragmented dreams. It spoke of lost opportunities, of promises made in the glow of youth, and of a bond that was meant to defy the ravages of time. With trembling hands, Nathaniel read the heartfelt words aloud, feeling as though the very air around him vibrated with the energy of rediscovered truth. In that moment, the tapestry of his life unfurled before him, a mosaic where every sorrow was interlaced with joy, every moment of despair with the seeds of hope. Marianne's eyes shone with quiet understanding, and the dog sat attentively, as if guarding the sacred revelations of the night. The letter was not merely a relic of regret, but a beacon illuminating the path toward forgiveness and renewal. Chapter 26, The Promise of Tomorrow. With the first light of dawn approaching, the trio found themselves at the threshold of a new beginning. The horizon blushed with soft hues of peach and lavender, heralding the promise of a fresh day. In that tender light, Nathaniel felt a stirring within, a resolute determination to honor the lessons of his past and to embrace the possibilities of the future. Standing at the crossroads of memory and hope, he made a silent vow. No longer would he allow the weight of bygone regrets to dim the light of new beginnings. With Marianne's comforting presence beside him and the ever-faithful dog at his feet, Nathaniel stepped forward into the morning with renewed purpose. The mysterious guide, now a fading silhouette against the radiant sky, offered a final word of encouragement. Remember, every end births a beginning, and every heart has the capacity to heal. Embrace the promise of tomorrow with the courage of today. His voice, soft yet imbued with timeless wisdom, lingered in the air like a benediction. And so, beneath the awakening sky of Willowbrook, with the echoes of the past gently receding into the light, Nathaniel embarked on the next chapter of his journey, a journey where every step was a testament to the enduring power of love, forgiveness, and the infinite capacity for renewal. Chapter 27, The Gathering of Shadows. A chill wind swept through the ancient streets of Willowbrook as dusk yielded to a deep, star-flecked night. Nathaniel found himself once more at the threshold of a long-forgotten part of town, a narrow lane bordered by crumbling stone walls and overgrown ivy. Here, every shadow whispered secrets of bygone days, and every flicker of lamplight held echoes of regret and hope intermingled. As he walked slowly, the loyal dog padded faithfully by his side, its eyes reflecting both the uncertainty of the present and the weight of the past. Marianne, who had become both a kindred spirit and a gentle guide, trailed a few steps behind. Tonight, the trio converged at a silent square where a faded mosaic on the cobblestones depicted ancient symbols, runes that seemed to pulse with an almost imperceptible glow. In the center of the square stood a weathered stone fountain, its water trickling in a steady, measured cadence. Nathaniel paused there, mesmerized by the interplay of light and water, and he sensed that this was a place where fate gathered its silent witnesses. The mysterious guide, whose presence had flitted in and out of his journey like a phantom memory, appeared once again at the far edge of the square. His eyes, deep with centuries of wisdom, met Nathaniel's as if inviting him to unlock the secrets hidden in the mosaic of time. "Here," the guide murmured, his voice resonating in the cool night air, "lies the convergence of all that has been and all that is yet to come. Tonight, you must confront the shadows that linger in your heart and learn that redemption is forged in the fires of truth." Nathaniel's heart pounded as he realized that every step he had taken, the lost moments, the silent regrets, and the tender bonds rekindled, had led him to this singular crossroads. In that moment, he understood that his journey was not simply a return to what once was, but a forging of a new destiny from the fragments of memory. Chapter 28, Reflections in the Midnight Stream. The fountain's gentle murmur soon led the trio to the banks of a narrow stream that cut through a secluded garden behind ancient stone archways. Here, the moon cast silver ribbons upon the water's surface, and the soft ripple of the current mirrored the cadence of Nathaniel's thoughts. Mary Ann knelt beside the stream, her fingers lightly skimming the water as she whispered, "Sometimes, the past is like this flowing stream, ever-changing yet constant in its presence. Every ripple holds a memory, every current a lesson." Her words stirred something deep within Nathaniel, who stood transfixed by the interplay of light, shadow, and water. He recalled moments of profound loss and unexpected beauty, the day he first cradled his beloved companion in the midst of a storm, the quiet moments of shared solace on a park bench, and the laughter that once filled the corners of his heart. The dog, sensing his master's introspection, lay down at his feet, offering silent comfort as if to say that the truth of love and regret was shared between them. Leaning over the water, Nathaniel saw not just his own reflection, but fleeting images of his past, the youthful exuberance of forgotten dreams, the sorrow of mistakes, and the quiet hope that had never fully died. In those ripples, he found a delicate balance between memory and possibility, a realization that healing comes from acknowledging every tear, every scar, and every quiet moment of redemption. Chapter 29, The Weight of Choices. The journey led them next to an abandoned courtyard, once the site of lively gatherings and heartfelt declarations. Now, the courtyard lay silent under the watchful gaze of moonlight. Its stone walls bore carvings of names and dates, reminders of promises made and sometimes broken in the heat of passion and despair. Nathaniel wandered among these relics, his fingertips tracing the faded inscriptions. Each mark was a testament to choices long past, the reckless abandon of youth, the careful, measured steps of maturity, and the moments when destiny had taken its own course. The air was heavy with a palpable tension as if the very stones were burdened by the weight of unspoken confessions. In the center of the courtyard, a solitary bench beckoned. Here, Nathaniel settled down, allowing the silence to envelop him. Mary Ann joined him, sitting close enough that their shared quiet became a language of its own. The dog, ever the steadfast companion, lay curled at Nathaniel's feet. "Every choice we make," Mary Ann said softly, "creates ripples in our lives. Some choices haunt us, while others light our way forward. But it is in the reconciliation of these choices, acknowledging our faults and embracing our hope, that we truly become whole." Nathaniel's eyes glistened as he absorbed her words. The courtyard, with its ancient scars and quiet dignity, became a mirror in which he could finally face the truth of his own decisions. Here, he allowed himself to grieve for the past without fear, understanding that every regret was also a lesson, a stepping stone to the future he had yet to claim. Chapter 30, The Festival of Forgotten Dreams. As the night waned into the gentle blush of early dawn, a soft melody drifted through the deserted streets, a sound that seemed both foreign and achingly familiar. Drawn by the music, Nathaniel, Mary Ann, and the dog followed the sound to a hidden enclave where remnants of an old festival still lingered. Lanterns, though weathered by time, still swayed gently in a cool breeze, their soft glow illuminating a makeshift stage draped in faded bunting. Here, local musicians played instruments whose notes carried the weight of memory and the promise of renewal. It was as though the town itself had gathered to honor the dreams it had once cherished and the hopes it had not yet relinquished. Nathaniel joined a small group of townsfolk who had gathered around a crackling fire. In their eyes, he saw the same quiet determination that now filled his own heart, the recognition that even in the wake of loss, the spark of possibility still burned brightly. Conversations, though hushed, carried tales of love, sacrifice, and the enduring nature of community. In that gathering, every story shared was a tribute to the human spirit's capacity to overcome the darkest nights. Over warm cups of spiced cider, an elder recounted legends of Willowbrook, a time when magic was believed to be hidden in every corner, and every person carried a secret story of hope. Even the lonely dog who waits outside the cafe, the elder said with a knowing smile, carries within him the spirit of all who have loved and lost, yet still dare to hope. Nathaniel felt as if the elder's words were meant for him. In that moment, the festival of forgotten dreams became a celebration not only of what had been lost but also of what could be regained, a future crafted by the courage to remember and the strength to forgive. Chapter 31, The Reckoning of the Heart. In the quiet hours before dawn, as the festival's echoes slowly faded into the cool silence of a new day, Nathaniel found himself alone in a small chapel that had once served as the spiritual heart of Willowbrook. The chapel, with its stained-glass windows and worn pews, was a sanctuary for souls seeking solace and understanding. Here, in the stillness, Nathaniel knelt at a dusty altar. The soft glow of the early light filtered through colored glass, painting the stone floor in hues of crimson, gold, and sapphire. He closed his eyes and allowed the memories to come forth unbidden, the joy of companionship, the agony of regret, and the enduring promise of redemption. In that sacred space, the weight of his past became tangible. Every unspoken word, every missed chance, and every moment of cowardice pressed upon him. Yet, as he prayed in the language of his heart, he also felt the stirrings of forgiveness, a gentle, transformative power that began to mend the fractured pieces of his soul. A solitary tear traced a path down his cheek as he whispered, "I forgive you. I forgive myself." In that quiet act of release, the chapel seemed to breathe with him, its ancient stones echoing his silent benediction. The dog, resting near the altar, lifted its head as if in silent acknowledgement, and Marianne's presence just beyond the doorway became a comforting reminder that he was not alone in his journey toward healing. Chapter 32, Embracing the Unseen Future. With the first rays of dawn breaking over Willowbrook, Nathaniel emerged from the chapel transformed. The weight of the night's revelations had given way to a newfound clarity, a vision of a future where every choice, however painful, was a step toward wholeness. The town, with its labyrinth of hidden corners and storied past, now appeared as a canvas upon which the promise of tomorrow could be painted in bold, vibrant hues. Reunited with Marianne and the steadfast dog, Nathaniel ventured out into a world reborn by the gentle light of day. The streets glimmered with dew, and the soft chirping of birds heralded a symphony of hope. He could feel the energy of the town, a living, breathing testament to the resilience of its people, coursing through his veins. Together, they walked toward the heart of Willowbrook, where the old café, the Golden Cup, awaited as both a reminder of the past and a beacon for the future. Its windows glowed warmly, and familiar voices mingled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Here, amidst the tender bustle of everyday life, Nathaniel sensed that every ending was merely a prelude to a new beginning. As he crossed the threshold of the café, he carried with him the lessons of the night, the whispered truths of the fountain, the reflective murmur of the stream, and the heartfelt confessions of the courtyard. With every step, he embraced the uncertainty of the future, knowing that even in darkness, the promise of light was eternal. Chapter 33, A New Dawn of Hope. In the following days, the transformation within Nathaniel became evident not only to himself but to all who encountered him. His once haggard expression softened into one of gentle determination. Conversations at the Golden Cup took on a new luster, every greeting and shared smile became a subtle celebration of second chances. Marianne, ever the beacon of kindness, organized small gatherings in the town square where neighbors spoke openly of their dreams and disappointments. The old stories of Willowbrook were recounted with reverence, and in their shared narratives, a community was reborn. The loyal dog, whose quiet vigil had sparked a cascade of memories and awakenings, became a symbol of unconditional loyalty and hope, a living reminder that even the smallest souls could bridge the gap between what was lost and what might yet be reclaimed. Standing beneath the budding trees of spring, Nathaniel finally felt the long-hidden wounds of his past begin to mend. The mysterious guide's parting words, echoing from that fateful night at the crossroads, remained with him as a guiding light: embrace each moment, for every heartbeat is a step toward transformation. With that wisdom etched into his soul, he resolved to forge ahead with courage and compassion, not only for himself but for all whose lives were intertwined with his own. In the soft light of the new dawn, as Willowbrook stirred with the promise of a brighter day, Nathaniel, Marianne, and the faithful dog embarked on a journey that transcended regret, a journey that celebrated the intricate tapestry of human experience. They understood that life was composed of both joy and sorrow, and that each moment of vulnerability was an invitation to rise anew. For in the silent vigil of every waiting soul and in the quiet strength of every kindred heart, there lay the timeless truth: redemption is not the erasure of past mistakes but the courageous embrace of a future filled with hope, love, and the possibility of endless beginnings. Chapter 34, The Road to Reconciliation. In the weeks following the Festival of Forgotten Dreams, Willowbrook itself seemed to awaken with renewed purpose. The town's cobblestone streets, once heavy with the silence of regrets, now buzzed softly with the murmurs of reconciliation and hope. Nathaniel, whose heart had known both desolation and the quiet warmth of second chances, felt an irresistible pull to journey further into the labyrinth of his past. With Marianne's gentle encouragement and the ever-faithful dog leading the way, he retraced the steps of earlier days. They wandered along meandering lanes lined with ancient trees whose gnarled branches whispered stories of yesteryear. Each footstep on the weathered pavement was a deliberate act of remembrance, a recognition that every memory, no matter how painful, was also a lesson in forgiveness. At a long-abandoned garden behind a crumbling estate, where wild roses still clung to life amid the ruins, Nathaniel paused to reflect. The garden, with its intermingling scents of damp earth and blooming hope, was a testament to nature's own cycle of decay and renewal. Here, he resolved to confront the unresolved chapters of his past, each regret, every moment of remorse, and to accept them as integral threads in the tapestry of his life. In that quiet space, a subtle transformation began. The journey toward reconciliation was not merely a revisiting of old wounds, but a courageous step toward healing and understanding. Chapter 35, Secrets Unearthed. One crisp morning, as a pale mist wrapped around the outskirts of Willowbrook, the loyal dog veered off the familiar path. Its eager pace led the trio to a forgotten cemetery at the edge of town, a place where the silence of the departed spoke louder than words. Amid rows of time-worn headstones and delicate carvings, Nathaniel's eyes caught sight of a weathered letter tucked beneath a crumbling stone bearing a name that stirred memories of love and loss. With trembling hands, he unfolded the fragile paper, revealing inked words written in a script both familiar and heart-wrenching. The letter was from someone once cherished, a voice from the past echoing through time. It recounted tender moments once shared, regrets left unsaid, and the hope that even in separation, a bond could transcend the passage of years. As Nathaniel read the words aloud in the hushed air of the cemetery, Marianne and the dog listened with quiet empathy. The letter acted as both a bridge and a mirror, linking the pain of bygone days with the promise of renewal. It reminded Nathaniel that the secrets we keep often hide the key to our deepest transformation. In that somber, sacred space, he vowed to honor every part of his history, embracing the bittersweet truth that even lost love could guide him toward a future imbued with compassion. Chapter 36, The Weight of Remembrance. Haunted by the echoes of the letter, Nathaniel's journey soon took on a more introspective hue. The past, once a distant and painful memory, now surged forth with an urgent need to be understood. Accompanied by Marianne, whose steady presence offered solace and strength, and the silent canine guardian whose eyes held the wisdom of unspoken ages, he embarked on a pilgrimage of remembrance. They visited the old seaside cliffs where Nathaniel had once spent long, solitary hours watching the tides, a place where the vast ocean mirrored his inner tumult. Each crashing wave was a reminder of the relentless passage of time, and yet, like the ebb and flow of the tide, it also carried the possibility of renewal. In the quiet majesty of the cliffs, memories unfurled, the echo of laughter shared with a long-lost friend, the pain of parting, and the hope that every end is but the precursor to a new beginning. In these moments of quiet introspection, Nathaniel learned that the weight of remembrance was not a burden to bear in silence. It was a call to acknowledge every fragment of his past, the joys, the sorrows, and even the harshest regrets. Only by facing these memories could he hope to reclaim the parts of himself that had been lost to time. With each step, he grew more determined to integrate the lessons of yesterday into the vibrant mosaic of his tomorrow. Chapter 37, The Convergence of Fates. As the seasons shifted and the air carried the crisp promise of autumn, fate began to weave its intricate patterns more visibly throughout Willowbrook. The town, a living repository of countless stories, became a stage upon which old friends, estranged family members, and unexpected allies re-emerged. Invitations to gatherings and impromptu meetings wove a network of reconnections that spanned generations. In a grand town hall meeting, held in the restored space of an old community center, the citizens of Willowbrook gathered to share their own stories of heartache, loss, and redemption. The meeting, illuminated by the soft glow of antique chandeliers and punctuated by the gentle murmur of shared memories, served as a poignant reminder that no one story exists in isolation. Nathaniel, with Marianne by his side, took the stage to speak of his own journey. His voice, at first tentative, soon carried the quiet power of truth as he recounted the long path from regret to forgiveness. In that gathering, voices intermingled, a chorus of confessions and reconciliations that underscored the community's resilience. Each story, whether of youthful dreams dashed by hardship or of a love rekindled against all odds, was a thread in the larger fabric of Willowbrook. Together, they celebrated the convergence of fates, the understanding that every shared sorrow and every collective joy could build bridges between disparate lives. In this communion of souls, the idea of redemption transformed from a solitary quest into a collective promise, binding the town in a shared narrative of healing and hope. Chapter 38, A New Dawn of Eternal Hope. In the gentle light of a crisp autumn morning, a transformative calm descended over Willowbrook. The old café, the Golden Cup, stood as a luminous beacon amid the soft hues of dawn, a place where past and future converged in quiet harmony. Nathaniel, now more at peace with the echoes of his own history, stepped into the café with a heart unburdened by regret and filled with the anticipation of new beginnings. Outside, the loyal dog greeted the day with a joyful wag, while Marianne's warm smile served as a constant reminder of the enduring power of friendship and shared hope. The café's familiar aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the crisp autumn air, inviting patrons to savor the simple pleasures of life. In this cherished haven, conversations flowed freely, each one an affirmation of the town's collective strength and resilience. In a heartfelt gathering that afternoon, Nathaniel addressed the community. He spoke of the long, arduous journey from despair to hope, of the importance of embracing every fragment of one's past, and of the transformative magic that arises when hearts dare to forgive. His words resonated deeply with every listener, kindling a flame of possibility that had long lain dormant in the hearts of many. As the sun ascended higher, casting golden light upon the cobblestones, Nathaniel felt a profound sense of closure and rebirth. The scars of yesterday, once so sharp and painful, had softened into gentle reminders of lessons learned. The echoes of the past, far from being vanquished, had been woven into the very fabric of his soul, each memory a stepping stone toward a future filled with hope, compassion, and endless possibilities. Under that brilliant sky, with Marianne's hand in his and the steadfast dog at his feet, Nathaniel embraced the promise of a new dawn. He knew that the journey of redemption was never truly complete, that every moment was a chance to grow, to forgive, and to love more deeply. In the convergence of every shared heartbeat and every whispered memory, Willowbrook shone as a testament to the enduring spirit of renewal. And so, as the day unfolded with the gentle certainty of a well-told promise, the town of Willowbrook and its people stepped into a future where every ending was merely the prelude to another, ever-bright beginning. In that collective awakening, the silent vigil of every waiting soul was transformed into an eternal chorus of hope. Chapter 39, The Call of the Unknown. In the wake of a newfound collective hope, Willowbrook awoke to a quiet, transformative energy. The autumn air carried whispers of change that even the ancient trees seemed to heed. Nathaniel, whose heart had weathered the storms of regret and renewal, felt a stirring deep within, a call from an unknown horizon. It began as a subtle vibration in the stillness of early morning, a hint that life had more chapters to write beyond the well-worn streets of his beloved town. Late one crisp morning, as a pale sun cast long shadows over the cobblestones, Nathaniel discovered a curious envelope tucked beneath his usual seat at the Golden Cup. The envelope, sealed with a faded crest and inscribed in an elegant hand, bore no return address. Its arrival felt almost preordained, a beckoning from beyond the familiar, inviting him to venture into realms he had long set aside. With Marianne's gentle encouragement and the ever-watchful dog by his side, Nathaniel resolved to follow this mysterious summons, embracing the uncertainty as part of his journey toward illumination. Chapter 40, A Message from the Past. That very day, in the quiet solitude of his modest room, Nathaniel carefully unfolded the letter. Each word was imbued with a resonance that stirred memories he thought had faded into the mists of time. The letter spoke of an ancient sanctuary, a hidden haven beyond the borders of Willowbrook, where the past and future converged in a tapestry of wisdom and promise. It recounted legends of those who had dared to traverse the unknown in search of redemption, urging Nathaniel to uncover secrets that might mend not only his own heart but also the collective spirit of his community. The letter's poetic cadence evoked images of twilight rituals, silent gatherings beneath starlight, and the profound healing found in confronting one's innermost truths. As Nathaniel read, he felt the weight of his earlier regrets transform into a luminous anticipation. Here was a call to step beyond the safe confines of memory, to seek out the uncharted territories of both the world and his soul. With a resolute breath, he made the decision to set out on this new quest, a journey that promised to reveal the hidden layers of his destiny. Chapter 41, Beyond the Familiar Borders. The next morning, with the letter securely folded in his jacket pocket, Nathaniel, Marianne, and the steadfast dog departed from Willowbrook. Their path wound away from the familiar cobblestone lanes into a vast countryside, where rolling fields and dense woodlands whispered of forgotten histories. The landscape, bathed in the soft glow of early autumn, transformed before their eyes into a canvas of untamed beauty and latent mystery. As they journeyed along a meandering country road, the group encountered signs of ancient civilizations, ruined stone arches overtaken by ivy, weathered statues whose expressions spoke of lost eras, and quiet groves where the wind seemed to carry voices from centuries past. Each step felt like a deliberate passage through time, a crossing from the known into a realm where the boundaries of reality and memory blurred. Marianne often paused to examine a peculiar symbol on an old pillar or a cryptic inscription on a moss-covered stone, her curiosity mirroring Nathaniel's own longing for truth. Chapter 42, The Forgotten Sanctuary. After days of travel through landscapes both wild and wondrous, the trio arrived at a secluded valley that housed a forgotten sanctuary. Hidden behind a curtain of ancient oaks and fragrant wildflowers, the sanctuary was a crumbling complex of stone and stained glass, a relic of an age when belief and magic wove through everyday life. The air here was thick with an almost tangible sense of history, as though the very walls murmured secrets to those willing to listen. Inside the sanctuary's silent halls, light filtered in through shattered windows, casting kaleidoscopic patterns on the worn floor. Nathaniel felt an inexplicable pull toward a central chamber where a faded mural depicted scenes of celestial beings and earthbound pilgrims united in purpose. Here, in the quiet majesty of the long-forgotten edifice, he sensed that the mysteries of his past were interlaced with the promise of future transformation. As Marianne gently traced the curves of a carved inscription and the loyal dog lay serenely at his feet, Nathaniel realized that this sacred space was not only a monument to lost dreams but also a beacon for the healing of weary souls. Chapter 43, The Ritual of Illumination. In the heart of the sanctuary, as dusk settled and the heavens blossomed with stars, Nathaniel and Marianne encountered a small, devoted gathering of local wanderers. These individuals, keepers of ancient lore and seekers of truth, had gathered to perform a ritual known as the Rite of Illumination. With reverence and careful precision, they arranged simple offerings, candles, wild herbs, and handwritten prayers meant to honor both the past and the unfolding future. The ritual began with a soft, melodic chant that resonated off the stone walls, each note echoing like a heartbeat of the earth. In that hallowed moment, Nathaniel felt every fiber of his being awaken. The chanting voices blended with the natural sounds of the night, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a nightingale, forming a symphony of renewal. Marianne's hand clasped his in silent solidarity, and even the dog seemed to sense the gravity of the rite, its eyes reflecting the dancing candlelight as if absorbing the ancient energy. As the ritual reached its zenith, the assembled souls released their hopes and regrets into the cool night air, each person's whispered prayer mingling with the celestial chorus. For Nathaniel, the ritual was a transformative act, a letting go of old sorrows and an embrace of the boundless possibility of redemption. In that sacred space, beneath the infinite expanse of the starlit sky, he rediscovered the resilient spark of his own spirit. Chapter 44, The Uncharted Path. Empowered by the ritual's gentle catharsis, Nathaniel, Marianne, and their canine companion prepared to leave the sanctuary. Though the physical journey had taken them far from Willowbrook, the path ahead remained shrouded in mystery. The letter's promise of deeper truths echoed in Nathaniel's heart, urging him to venture further into the uncharted realms of both the land and his soul. Their route led them along narrow forest trails where shafts of silver moonlight cut through the dense canopy, illuminating hidden clearings and secret glades. Along the way, they encountered fellow travelers, each on their own pilgrimage, whose brief smiles and shared glances reinforced the idea that every solitary journey was part of a grand, interconnected tapestry. Marianne, ever the insightful observer, remarked how the natural world around them mirrored their inner quest. The forest, with its interplay of light and shadow, symbolized the duality of hope and despair that resided within every heart. As days turned to nights and back again, the trio navigated winding paths, crossed murmuring streams, and ascended gentle hills that offered sweeping vistas of the unbounded horizon. Each step forward was an act of defiance against the inertia of past regrets, a declaration that the journey toward healing was as infinite as the sky above. Chapter 45, The Illumination of the Heart. In the final stretch of their odyssey through the untamed countryside, a profound stillness descended upon the land. It was as if the universe itself paused to witness the culmination of their quest. On a high plateau overlooking a vast valley bathed in the soft glow of dawn, Nathaniel experienced a moment of breathtaking clarity. Standing there, with Marianne by his side and the loyal dog resting at his feet, he felt the luminous pulse of the world, the quiet, persistent beat of life that connected every star, every heart, and every whispered memory. In that transcendent instant, the layers of pain and regret that had once obscured his vision dissolved into a radiant clarity. Nathaniel's eyes filled with tears, tears of gratitude for every sorrow that had led him to this moment, and tears of joy for the boundless promise that lay ahead. He understood, at last, that illumination was not a destination but a continuous journey, a gentle unfolding of the heart's capacity to forgive, to love, and to embrace the mystery of existence. Marianne's soft smile and the reassuring warmth of the dog's presence reinforced the truth that every step, however arduous, had been worth the pain if it brought him closer to the light within. In that silent communion with nature and the cosmos, Nathaniel vowed to carry the spirit of this revelation back to Willowbrook, to share the newfound wisdom with his community, and to let the luminous promise of renewal guide every future endeavor. Chapter 46, the promise of infinity. With the rising sun painting the sky in hues of gold and lavender, the trio began their return journey, their hearts buoyed by the profound insights of the plateau. The road back was no longer a mere retracing of steps but a pilgrimage filled with the promise of infinite beginnings. Each footfall resonated with the conviction that the past, with all its trials and tribulations, was a vital part of a greater mosaic, one that could always be reshaped by the courage to embrace change. As they re-entered the familiar borders of Willowbrook, the town seemed to greet them like an old friend reawakened to the potential of a new era. At the Golden Cup, where warm lights and welcoming smiles awaited, Nathaniel felt a deep sense of gratitude. He knew that the lessons gleaned from the uncharted path and the ritual of illumination would forever remain etched in his soul, guiding him as he helped others find their own way toward redemption and hope. In the gentle murmur of everyday life, a shared laugh over a steaming cup of coffee, a knowing glance exchanged between neighbors, the soft patter of the loyal dog along well-trodden lanes, there lay the promise of infinity. A promise that every ending is but the prelude to another, every farewell a quiet invitation to begin again. And so, with hearts alight and spirits renewed, the people of Willowbrook stepped boldly into the future, each life a testament to the enduring, ever-renewing dance of hope and transformation. Chapter 47, The Return Home. After days of wandering through uncharted lands and discovering hidden sanctuaries, Nathaniel, Marianne, and their steadfast dog began their long-awaited return to Willowbrook. The journey back was a tapestry woven with all that they had experienced, a mosaic of ancient secrets, heartfelt reconciliations, and luminous revelations that transformed their inner worlds. As the familiar outlines of Willowbrook appeared on the horizon, bathed in the soft glow of twilight, Nathaniel felt a profound sense of completion. Every step taken on the winding country roads echoed the lessons learned on the uncharted path, that the past, no matter how painful, is an inseparable part of who we become. With Marianne's reassuring hand in his and the dog trotting faithfully at his side, he knew that the wisdom gained on his pilgrimage would forever guide him home. In the welcoming warmth of the Golden Cup, the town's beloved café, old faces greeted him with knowing smiles and gentle nods. The familiar murmur of conversation and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee signified that Willowbrook, too, had been quietly transformed by the echoes of shared memory and redemption. Here, in the comforting embrace of community, Nathaniel felt ready to integrate every fragment of his journey into a future filled with promise. Chapter 48, The Final Vigil. That evening, as dusk settled over Willowbrook like a soft, protective cloak, Nathaniel found himself drawn once again to the quiet spot outside the café where the loyal dog had always waited. For years, the silent vigil of this gentle creature had been a beacon, a constant reminder that hope endures even in the solitude of loss. Under a sky pricked with stars, Nathaniel sat beside the dog on the worn stone bench. In that stillness, memories of regret, reconciliation, and the luminous revelations of his recent odyssey mingled with the soft rustle of night. The mysterious guide, whose words had once lit his path, now seemed to echo in the gentle whisper of the wind. It was as if every breath of night affirmed that every ending is woven together with the threads of new beginnings. In that poignant moment, Nathaniel allowed himself to reflect on the journey that had led him here, the painful missteps, the stirring of forgotten dreams, and the triumphant awakening of a heart ready to forgive and love anew. The dog, with eyes full of ancient understanding, rested its head gently on his knee, silently sharing its ageless truth, that even in solitude, one is never truly alone, and every vigil, however quiet, holds the promise of renewal. Chapter 49, The Embrace of Legacy. As the night deepened, word spread quietly among the townsfolk of a special gathering at the town hall, a celebration of the intertwined stories that had shaped Willowbrook. In a beautifully restored hall filled with the soft glow of lanterns and the gentle hum of heartfelt conversation, neighbors, old friends, and even distant relatives gathered to honor the legacy of lives lived in hope and resilience. Nathaniel took the stage to share his story, his voice steady and imbued with the warmth of hard-earned wisdom. He spoke of regret and redemption, of the power of forgiveness, and of the unyielding courage required to confront one's past. His words, sincere and poignant, resonated with every listener, echoing through the hall like a timeless refrain. In that embrace of legacy, the community found its collective strength. Every story shared, every tear shed, and every smile exchanged became a thread in the larger fabric of Willowbrook, a tapestry that celebrated not only the individual journeys of its inhabitants but also the interwoven destiny of a town that thrived on compassion, understanding, and the beauty of second chances. Chapter 50, The Final Awakening. As dawn broke over Willowbrook, casting a gentle radiance across the dew-kissed streets, Nathaniel stood at the threshold of a new day. The final vestiges of night receded, giving way to the warm promise of morning. In that tranquil light, the echoes of his past, the lessons of his pilgrimage, and the timeless vigil of the loyal dog merged into one radiant moment of awakening. Standing once again at the entrance of the Golden Cup, Nathaniel felt the profound certainty that every ending is the seed of a new beginning. With Marianne by his side and the enduring presence of the dog, a symbol of unwavering loyalty and silent hope, he embraced the future with an open heart. In the symphony of life that played out in the soft chatter of the town, the clink of coffee cups, and the gentle rustle of leaves in the morning breeze, he recognized that his journey had come full circle. In that final awakening, Nathaniel understood that redemption is not a destination but an eternal embrace, a continuous dance between remembering and forgiving, between sorrow and joy, between what was and what can be. The silent vigil of every waiting soul, the unspoken promises shared beneath starlit skies, and the vibrant heartbeat of Willowbrook together forged a legacy of hope that would endure for generations. Epilogue, The Eternal Embrace. Years later, long after the footsteps of that transformative journey had become part of the town's cherished lore, the spirit of Willowbrook continued to shine brightly. The Golden Cup remained a haven where stories were told and retold, a sanctuary for hearts seeking solace, courage, and the eternal promise of new beginnings. And every day, at the break of dawn, a lone dog would wait outside the café, a silent guardian of memory and hope, reminding every passerby that the light of redemption never truly fades. In the quiet corners of every heart that had known loss and love, the legacy of Nathaniel's journey whispered on, a gentle reminder that every life is a tapestry of shadows and light, woven together by the enduring, infinite embrace of hope.